Hi everyone, welcome back to the French Connections HCB YouTube channel. I'm Jen and I work with the marketing team, and welcome to Real French Connections. This is going to be a series of interview style videos about our current clients, really, anyone who's used our services so far. A little bit about that, but actually a lot more about their experience of moving to France and actually living in France. So if you want to hear more, carry on watching. If you want to hear more from French Connections HCB, don't forget to like, subscribe. We love hearing from you. So drop us a comment in the box below. Click the bell and then you get notified when anything new comes along. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Today, we're going to hear from Sean, who moved to France, the south of France, with his wife, Audra, and used some of our services while he was here. Quite a lot about his experience, actually, in moving to France, his reason for doing it, what he loves about the area, his real impressions of where he lives and who he lives with. So yeah, that's enough from me. I will let you enjoy. So first question, if we can get started at the beginning, why did you choose to move to France?
Sure. My wife and I married about 2.5 years ago. And at the time, she had a home, I had a home. We started thinking about where we would want to live, how to consolidate our households. And as I've shared with you in the past, we lived in an extraordinary state in the United States. Virginia's a beautiful place, just tremendous quality of life. But having both spent a lot of time there, we were ready for a change, but honestly could not think of a place in the States that we liked any better than Virginia, which in turn kind of opened up other possibilities. I have dual citizenship, US and Irish. And as an Irish citizen, I am, of course, also a citizen of the European Union, which opens up the entire EU to me in terms of...
You're very fortunate position.
Extremely fortunate. And so when we started discussing this, even before Audra and I got married, there was the notion, would we be interested in living in Europe? And so because of my Irish heritage, I still have family in Ireland. The first and easiest consideration was Ireland itself. No language barrier, easy culture, easy to make connections. So long story short, we took a trip to Ireland, did some investigating, discovered that they had an extraordinary housing shortage, just almost beyond comprehension. And this has been an ongoing problem, but I don't think we understood the magnitude of it until we got there.
And until we've spoken about it before, I had no idea either.
Oh yeah, just, they were telling us it could be 2 years before we could find out. And, and there are wonderful things about living in Ireland, but the weather, the climate is a challenge for, a good part of the year. My wife loves the beach and swimming. And so long story short, we decided to start thinking about other locations. And in the course of my career, I had the opportunity to work, reside in various places in Europe. And I shared with her that of all the places I've been, France is without question my personal favorite.
Yeah.
I love the country, I love the culture, I love the people. I have always had wonderful experiences here. So my wife, brave soul that she is, having never laid eyes on France, expressed a willingness to come check it out. We came here in June of 22, spent a couple weeks searching the area. We knew kind of intuitively that because of the weather, things like that, we would bias to the south of France.
Sure.
And so we came down to the south. We started in Montpellier and worked our way east to Nice and just stayed in different communities for a few days at a time. And I think it both reassured us that France was the place for us. And then it was just a matter of narrowing down the communities. So as I said, that was sort of the genesis of why France, how France.
Yeah, brilliant. And so you didn't end up in Montpellier or Nice. Correct. Where did you end up?
So we live in Fréjus, which is a community of about 40,000 people situated midway between Cannes and Saint-Tropez. right
Lovely.
on the coast. It
Very
is.
glamorous. Very
It's,
glamorous part of the world.
yeah, we're almost embarrassed to tell. People will ask, where do you live? And we'll say, oh, we live on the Côte d'Azur.
Yes.
And, and we're almost embarrassed to say it because it brings connotations of like having
Yeah. Second question, how big is
yeah,
your yacht?
exactly. And
Yeah.
so we admire the yachts. We don't have one ourselves, but
Yeah.
it's an extraordinary community. We wanted something. Nice and to a lesser extent Montpellier were simply too large for us.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
wanted a smaller community, a sense of community, and Fréjus has both incredible natural beauty. We have the Estoril Mountains behind us, the Mediterranean in front of us, but it
Gorgeous.
also has an extraordinary history. It was founded by Julius Caesar,
Mhm.
and we literally have Roman aqueducts, an
Yeah.
amphitheater, and Napoleon literally landed here at one point. So yeah, it's just between Audra's love of nature, my love of the history, it is a perfect community for
It's
us.
perfect for you, and it's close enough to everything, all the amenities that you need,
Oh,
but it's not
precisely.
right in a city centre. So you've got the best of a lot of different worlds by the sound.
Exactly. We have easy access to transportation, to the motorways, to the TGV. We're 40 minutes from Nice and the international airport. So yeah, it is a perfect location, and just, good luck and
Mm.
good research.
Yeah, yeah, for
To
sure. And
find.
taking the time to travel around a little bit as well. That's obviously given you a really good insight. You
Exactly.
had some knowledge, but you needed to knowledge of where you're working and then knowledge of where you're living are two completely different things, right?
Agreed.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Awesome. So when it comes to the practical side of things, how long did it take you to realize that you might need a little bit of help with the whole moving to and settling in France situation?
Sure. Good question. So initially, before we had even moved here, we realized that there was a lot of complexity with regard to visas, the residency permit, the titre de séjour. And so I had engaged a law firm to work with my wife. Now, as I said, because I have EU citizenship, I didn't need a visa. My wife was coming here as the spouse of an EU citizen, but there is still that minimizes some of the complexity, but there is still some complexity.
Yeah.
So before even making the move, we reached out to a law firm to help us with my wife's residency. We really, I think initially we didn't appreciate all the other complexity that would be involved, at least not to the degree
Yeah.
that bureaucracy admin would be there. So as I've shared with you before, the genesis of this was we purchased a car, and because we were moving from location to location, test driving different communities, we were staying at Airbnbs. The car purchase went down pretty traditionally, but the issue was they sent the registration, which here is called a carte grise, to the wrong address, and it vanished. So I'm talking to my automobile insurance agent, and she was the one who said, you're not going to believe just how complicated this is going to be. I'd recommend you contact my friends at French Connections. Annabelle can work with you and help you out. So that really was the genesis of this. So I worked with Annabelle to get the carte grise. From there, having come to appreciate just the efficacy of the work, the ease of working with people like Annabelle, Jenya, it evolved relatively quickly into, can you help us with our driver's license? Can you help us with our healthcare registration? And on from there. So it was one of those things I tell people, could we have done it by ourselves? Yes. Is it extraordinarily better to do it with a professional? Without question.
Without a doubt, absolutely. Well, that's what we hope. That's kind of what we hope to hear, right? That's good. That's good as far as I'm concerned, that you can share that with people. Share away. And so I guess what you've already said, that the support that you had from Annabelle and the team was really exceptional. But what impressed you the most about the service that you got?
Excellent question. Probably the ease of use.
Okay.
That the team has been doing this for so long, they anticipate your questions, they anticipate where the challenges are going to be. And that what was driven home to me very early was during this experience with replacing our car registration. Because Annabelle is kind of talking out loud, or thinking out loud rather, and saying, well, they're going to question this, and so I will respond with this. And it just became manifestly clear that this was somebody who truly understood the workings of the system and could put
they've done a few. They've done a few.
Exactly.
They got this.
Exactly. And so, I think, I'm sure at some level, what we're doing is not that complex. I'm sure they've certainly run into more complicated things than what we're doing, but you still appreciate that expertise.
Of course you do. Of course you do. That's great to hear. That's really good to hear. So getting back to where you are and your kind of experience of France, I guess, because we end up talking to quite a lot of people, especially when we do our events, about, well, where do you suggest we live if they haven't been to France at all, or they maybe went when they were much, much younger, and they maybe want to sort of travel, go somewhere, but not necessarily have to try and cover the whole country because it's vast, as we know. And then they're also worried about having to integrate into a community, because even though they've made the decision, they've had enough of their state or their city or their town or their county in the UK. They're just done with it, done with the whole place. But it's home and they still have their community around them. How easy did you find it to integrate into your new community?
Excellent question. So Audra and I continue to marvel at just how easy it was.
Oh, that's great.
Almost to the point where in the States, we have this expression, waiting for the other shoe to drop, where it's like, surely something is going to go wrong here. And it never has. I mean, it is a testament to the French people, to our friends and neighbors, that this could not have been much easier. There is a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of admin involved, but my French neighbors would tell you they themselves deal with it. I mean, this is something.
Yeah, it's not just newbies that turn up
exactly,
and have to fill in 100 forms.
Like they direct this towards foreigners.
Yeah, sure.
But conversely, the degree to which people welcomed us into their homes, into their community, accepted us, assisted us, has just been extraordinary. I mean, these are, without question, some of the most welcoming, warm, gregarious people I have ever interacted with.
That's
and I had spent enough time here to know from experience that a lot of the myths about nobody speaks the language, in other words, nobody speaks English, or they frown on you if you don't speak eloquent French, were not true. But I don't think I was prepared for the degree to which people, they know where you come from. They're very worldly. They understand, where you are, where you've come from. Most people speak 2 or 3 languages, including English. And it has really been very easy in that regard. I tell people, if anything, it's difficult to maintain my French skills because all my friends want to speak to me in English.
They want to speak in English, yeah. So which leads me on to the language barrier, which a lot of people are obviously concerned with. Now, I know that you're not what you would consider to be rural. So like you said, there are a lot more people who maybe do speak a second/third language and make you feel really great about yourself.
Right.
But I guess that's you still want to try. And I think that's a really important point as well, right? You still want to enhance your experience of living somewhere by speaking the language.
Agreed. And France is our home.
Yeah.
I mean, we made this move with the mindset that France is our home. I am proud to be American. I have great regard. My family is still in the States, but I live in France, and France is home. And out of respect for this country that has welcomed me, that has treated Audra and I so well, it's incumbent on me to learn the language, understand the culture. And so regardless, but as I said, the irony is that the challenge is not learning French, it's maintaining it, because people are so eager and actually very good at speaking English.
Absolutely. Oh no, I couldn't agree more. And we where we tend to spend a lot of time is a lot more rural than where you are, for sure.
Sure.
So you didn't, because a lot of people think I'm going to move to France and I'm going to have a farmhouse and it's all going to be wonderful, and I'm going to update it and do the Jeep thing, which is a lot of people's dreams, and we're totally behind that. But you actually live in a multi-unit building, right?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. And you and I have discussed before the kind of the story behind this, but we had narrowed it down in our search to Fréjus.
Mm-hmm.
My wife, who is just extraordinary when it comes to researching, whether it's apartments, houses, culture, whatever, had spent a lot of time on the internet. Yeah,
It's
looking
just
for.
fun. It's just a fun thing to do.
And I will leave that to you. It's certainly not, I don't have the patience for it, but Audra is very good at it. And we had been researching different apartments, things like that. We knew we wanted to transition, get an apartment, ultimately purchase a home. But use like up to a year in an apartment so that we could really get a better sense of the community, get all of our admin stuff done, whatever. Mm-hmm. Audra discovers this apartment building, originally built as a grand hotel in 1870 to cater to the English who would come to the Côte d'Azur in the wintertime. It was converted into apartments in 1938. And it's just extraordinary. It has this, beautiful Mediterranean architecture.
And it's a beautiful building. Yeah, I
think
I've got a picture. I'm going to try and get the picture on here as well to kind of
wonderful.
show you what it's like.
But so we reached out to the people who were leasing the apartment, who just proved to be some of the nicest people I have ever met, Stefano and Gianna. They showed us the apartment. And I think what immediately resonated, they have an extraordinary love for this building because of its history. They immediately sensed that Audra and I were equally drawn to it because of that history. Gianna says to us in passing, oh, as Americans, you might find this interesting. F. Scott Fitzgerald, the writer, lived in this apartment in part of the time he was writing Tender is the Night.
Amazing.
I still have visions of like all-nighters with Ernest Hemingway in my living room or something. But
that's a vision. This definitely happened.
But yeah, exactly. And so it was one of those kind of quintessential, you would never run into this back home kind of situation. Absolutely. So we move into this building and absolutely adore it, and then discover that it kind of came with this unbelievable community of neighbors, French, Italian, German, Dutch, Hungarian. And I think, again, because of the type of person drawn to this building, we inherited these people who are very worldly, very well traveled, multilingual, love the history and the art and the architecture, and just adopted us within days. And it has made it extraordinarily easy.
It's just such a wonderful story. It really is. Like I think when you come with such energy and such vigor and such positivity, you're clearly getting it back in spades. And there's something to be said for that as well, how you've approached it.
Well, and I appreciate that. But I think too that it is a testament to these people that we live with, that they are as interested in us as we are in them. They always want to talk to us about things going on in the States, our perception of what's going on around the world. And they're a fun group of people, and every interaction is a learning experience for us.
That's fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. What is the biggest difference? We get asked this a lot, we get told this a lot, I suppose, when we're speaking to people, the biggest difference between home for you in the US and home in France?
Number one, I'd say the difference is not as great as most people would expect. That in candor, I've been coming to Europe since I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
And I can remember as a child, as a teenager, my 20s, my 30s, the differences were pretty stark. The infrastructure and things like that. What has changed here in the last 10 or 15 years in terms of convenience, in terms of the infrastructure, and it is in many cases is as good, and in some cases better than what you'd experience in the States. I do not minimize, and you always hear this from people who've lived here, that the administrative state, the bureaucracy, in comparison to what most of us are used to, is definitely slower, more complicated, less technological. That is probably the one area where I'd say I spend the greatest amount of my time, my non-fun time. But the rest of it, whether it's transportation, navigating around here, going to the grocery store, it is as easy or better than anything I've experienced.
Absolutely. That's great to hear, because I think some people sometimes are really concerned that it's going to be, well, some people want the real departure, and there are those areas where it is a huge departure. But when you don't, and when you want things to be comfortable, it is. And I think that's really good for people to know and understand that as well, wherever you live in France, really. What is your favorite place? Give me a bit of insider knowledge. What's your favorite place to visit in your local area? Be it a restaurant. I'm a big foodie, so a restaurant is always really good. A bar, maybe your favorite beach, something that somebody might not know about unless they live there.
Sure. For the foodie, you'd have to speak to my wife. She is definitely the foodie of the family.
Our next call is going to be with Audra.
Exactly. I was going to say, that's the one, ironically, the one aspect of French culture for which they're so well noted and for which I am so ambivalent is the food side of it, which is a sad testament. But no, my wife could certainly tell you about the restaurants. Probably for me, one of the nicest places, and one that is the most evocative of where we live. Fréjus has a sister city where basically they've kind of grown into each other, called Saint Raphael.
Saint Raphael.
Exactly. Beautiful. And it is an extraordinarily pretty town, and literally like a 6-minute drive from our home, the Saint Raphael plage. There's a promenade, the beach, Ferris wheel. It is kind of a micro Nice. I think of the, Promenade Anglais in Nice. This is a very scaled down version of it, but it has the same charm. We can walk down the beach in the evening with an ice cream. You have the French tricolor waving above you from the lampposts and watch the sunset.
Picture perfect, isn't it?
It is
literally picture perfect.
It is truly, as I said, evocative of living on the Mediterranean in this extraordinary place. So that would certainly be my favorite.
I love that. Absolutely love that. And if you were to talk to anybody who was planning to do the same thing and was still a little bit undecided, what advice would you give them?
Sure. First and foremost, do your research. I shared with you once that one of the first things we did was we went to Amazon and we purchased a book that was titled Retire to France by the Numbers, written by a former NASA engineer. And I have literally lived from this book for the last 18 months. He did an extraordinary job of just kind of taking you step by step flowchart through the process. So having a sense of what needed to be done, the complexity involved, things like that was important. I think too, and Audra and I have spoken about this a lot, both of us are fairly adventurous people. My wife is an extraordinarily adventurous person. As I said, I came here with a knowledge base. I had spent a lot of time in Europe. I understood it. My wife literally moved here on the basis of 2 weeks exposure to France. I mean, it is brave beyond.
I love that courage.
And I think doing an inventory of yourself, your skills, your aptitudes, your comfort with change or lack of comfort is very important, because you would not want to come here, I personally believe, if you're not comfortable with change, with ambiguity, if you're very introverted and not comfortable putting yourself out there. I mean, you really have to be prepared to open yourself up, tell people, here's where I come from, here's why I'm here. You have to maintain a lot of humility You know, you can't come over here and start telling people, oh, I don't like this, or I don't like, I wouldn't appreciate that in my country. Why would
No,
it?
absolutely not.
And
Absolutely.
so I think, you know, understanding where you're coming from, your mindset, being realistic about whether or not you're going to be able to emotionally, mentally handle this is as important as saying, do I have enough money in the checking account to
Yeah,
to,
the
to
big
pay
thing.
to pay to bring the cats over, things like that. So yeah, I think doing an inventory of yourself and your circumstances before you make the move would be critical.
Brilliant. Brilliant piece of advice to finish on. Thank you so much for your time, Sean. I really appreciate it. And I'm
It's been my
sure
pleasure.
that your advice will help people 100 times over. I really am. It's great to hear from you, and someone who's so happy with the move to France.
And that's, if I could convey any last thought, it would be, I could not imagine a better place. I could not imagine an outcome any better than what we've realized here. It is an extraordinary country, and we are very fortunate to live here.
That's absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Sean. I really appreciate that. That's perfect. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to hear more from French Connections HCB, like I said before, you can like and subscribe to the channel, which would be great, or get in touch at frenchconnectionshcb.com.